in the last project, I was sort of, people mentioned to me that they were unhappy because I kept extending deadlines and stuff. So this time, I'm not extending any deadlines. But one of the things that I need you guys to make sure you're all aware of is the fact that your next homework assignment was predicated on having completed everything that was due today. So just so that you guys have it clearly, I went ahead and wasted, I killed a tree for you guys. I copied all the stuff. So this is last week's homework. This is what was, I literally took this off of Canvas and I did it. So you won't be able to do you won't be able to do Thursday's homework until you have completed all of this stuff. I also chose, in addition to the 7 things that were on the homework assignment, I created these little sort of, I don't know, they're sort of workbook sheets, okay? That each of you, for last week, since I didn't seem to, it wasn't clear that I got everything that I was supposed to get from you guys are going to have to fill out each of these sheets in relating to last week's homework. So like one of them basically says, the title of it is Site Geography and Building Location. That's one of the 7 things that's in this list, or 8 things. All right, and there's just a thing that says, the portion of the site that I chose to locate my winery building is the, and there's a blank line. So last week or the week before, we talked about the geographic features of this site. If you do not remember what each of those geographic features were that I kind of discussed, go back through the videos or go back through your notes and try to find what all the different geographic names that I gave the different portions of the site, okay? All right, so I did this because of the following reasons, and then I've given you space for 7 reasons, okay? So you guys need to talk about, why did you pick the place for your building that you picked? So give me your reasons. Then it says, create a CAD-drawn site diagram showing this on a separate 8.5 by 11 sheet. So you guys will handwrite this one, and you'll print out a CAD sheet. This is last week's homework, by the way. So I'm just kind of making it a little bit more sort of maybe scripted so that it becomes clear. So the next one that you guys were supposed to, it's one of the items in here, is you guys were supposed to select your approach strategy. So you are going to write down, it says approach strategy. The approach strategy I employed for my project is, and there's a blank line, so you have to give it a name. And then it says, I did this because, and there are several lines. You have to explain, why did you use that approach strategy? Then it requests that you produce a CAD site diagram that illustrates what you just talked about. There's another sheet that talks, this was like from 2 weeks ago, right? Vineyard design, vineyard site design. I subdivided the land into 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 varietal planting vineyards. You guys were supposed to make that decision, okay? So you write down a number, 1, no, not 1. Actually, it's either, I think that you were only given 3, 4, or 5. So 1 and 2 you can't do. So sorry about that, it's a mistake on there. The pattern I used was, and you're to describe the pattern that you are choosing to do in words for your site. And then you are to produce a CAD-drawn site plan that highlights the vineyard pattern that you're using. So I did this in a sort of scripted approach, hoping that it maybe will kind of foster you guys to kind of get the work into an organized fashion that we can all kind of learn from, okay? So that was last week's homework. So predicated on last week's homework, right? That was just a portion of last week's homework, but predicated on last week's homework, today's session was supposed to be about taking your selected partie diagram, the site, and combining it with your program analysis to start to create the floor plans for your building. The floor plans are supposed to reflect the partie diagram that you guys have selected to proceed with. Okay? So what is due, the actual assignment that is due for Thursday is that the big sheet is at 1/64 of an inch to a foot, right? So you guys are to produce a floor plan, okay, at 1/64 1/16 of an inch to a foot. You might have to print it on 2 or 3 11 by 17s and splice them together, or you can go ahead and take it to wherever and print it to a larger sheet. It's going to be bigger than will fit on a single 11 by 17. So you are to produce floor plans that have all of the programmatic requirements for your winery at 1/16 of an inch to a foot. The design needs to correlate with the diagram that you are choosing for your partie, okay, for your idea, your generative idea. All right. So you're taking what we finished today, right? All the things that we finished up to this point, which were all of this site work and then all of this sort of conceptualization stuff that was due today, and you are now taking and turning it into, you are synthesizing it with the program requirements. Okay? You are to print it at 1/16 of an inch to a foot. The floor plans should be detailed. So the floor plans should incorporate all of the interior furnishings that you would find in a restaurant, that you would find in a winery. Now, I feel confident in requesting this. Why? Because you guys have already drawn all this, and it supposedly is already on the server. Okay, so you guys can just literally, if you see an arrangement of a barrel room, you can literally take it and just copy it into your drawing. Okay? But I want a detailed floor plan that synthesizes the prompt and program requirements with your concept and your site work. So there's a logical progression here. Okay? There's a very logical progression to how we're taking this. You are also to print this at take that site plan and rearrange it so that it doesn't have words, because the site plan, the floor plan that you're going to do is going to have words. I want you to take your floor plans that you're doing at 1/16 of an inch, which will be about that big, right? They'll be larger. And I want you to produce a ground level plan. Now, understand that it might be at different levels, okay? Because you're working with the slope. You are to produce the same ground level plan at 1/64 of an inch so that we can show it on the site. You will print that and it will fit on an 8.5 by 11. Okay, you will bring back your site drawing, your large site drawing that I gave you, and you will cut it out and position it on there so that we can see where it's at. Finally, the third item that I'm going to, actually it's the second item, because the first and second items were kind of the same thing, it's just printed at a different scale. The next thing that I will need is a cross slope section that shows me how your building works with the terrain. That will be done at 1/16 of an inch to a foot also. Please remember that the barrel rooms are typically use some level of earth sheltering, so that's kind of an important thing to note. Okay? All right, are there questions about the homework? Yes, Alex?
What's earth sheltering?
Earth sheltering?
Yeah, what is earth sheltering?
That means that it's partially embedded into the slope.
So it's kind of like a cave?
No, it doesn't have to be a cave, but it's this building, right? That entire wall is open to the outside air, correct? Mm-hmm. So if it's 110 degrees outside, the outside surface of the wall that we're looking at here is at what temperature?
Same temperature as the air.
Same temperature of the air unless the sun's shining on it. What about the far side of the auditorium over there?
A lot lower.
Isn't the auditorium underground?
Yeah.
Okay, so does the dirt get to the same air temperature? Does the dirt get to the same temperature as the air?
No.
It's generally a lot cooler, right? So when you guys did your case studies, you probably saw that a large component of the barrel rooms, right, were not just in a big room up on top of the site. They were sort of partially embedded into the site. Not completely underground. It's not like you build this giant cavern and you drive back, 5 miles to Area 51. There's aliens moving wine barrels around. It's just partially buried. So if I was to draw a diagram of that, it might look something like this. Slope, right? Building. That makes sense? So this right here has soil against it. And all of the ground obviously has soil against it. It might even have a portion of soil up on the front. Not absolutely required, but it is common practice. When you guys studied winemaking, the first week of class, you were supposed to find out why. Okay, other questions about the homework? One?
Are we printing the same floor plan at 116 and 164?
Yes, you are.
The same one.
The same exact plan, with the exception that you're going to modify it so that it's a one-level plan.
Right.
You don't understand why, do you? No. Okay. At this size, I can see doors, and I can see furniture, and I can see where you're putting windows. I can see where there's patios. At 1/16 of an inch, I should be able to see a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now, how do I take that 1/16 inch drawing and understand it in the context of your overall site plan?
You print it in 164?
So you're printing an adjusted plan view. Because again, some of you might have two-story buildings, right? So in relation to the site, what I'm looking for is the stuff that's actually contacting the site. At 1/64, then you're going to cut it out and sort of tape it into the site where it goes. Okay? Other questions? Just a heads up, okay, for next Monday, right? And I need to just double check that because of schedule. But for next Monday, you guys are going to be producing a model because we are quickly running out of time. But let me check our calendar. So today is 28th. Next week is the last week of class, and then you guys have presentation. So for next week, you guys are going to be producing your final site model. Okay? So we cannot do that unless you have completely finished everything up to this date. So you guys are, if you guys do not do everything that is due in order for us to kind of analyze it on Thursday, you're really behind the 8 ball. Because there's no way that I can advise you otherwise. Okay? Yes, sir.
So the model due the 5th?
We'll talk about the homework for next week. I'm just giving you guys a heads up that I'm not slowing down and that I'm not changing the schedule and I'm not deferring that. Right? You guys have a model at 1/16 of an inch to a foot due next week in order for you guys to start to turn it into a three-dimensional object. But right now, what we're focusing on in this particular session is what is due for Thursday. Okay? Other questions? Oh, please make sure that you have your PowerPoint presentation for your case study. All right? That you have your AutoCAD DWG or your Rhino drawing files for your case study, and that you have a PDF version of it, not printed to scale. The PDF version, you can just print it to fit to a, I don't know, something like an E-size sheet, so that we can quickly see what is in the DWG or the Rhino files. Okay? Please organize it so that we have CAD files, right? We have PDF files, and then we have your case study files in 3 separate folders.
30 seconds.
All right, go ahead and stop the video.